We're ready to get started. Call the study session to order. Any announcements, Jeff, before we get started?
Yes, Your Honor, we do have some recreation announcements. Todd?
Yep. I have a few announcements for this evening. Just want to let everyone know the registration for summer programs, which you can find online, starts tomorrow for the Recreation Department for residents, and then on Thursday for non-residents. That includes all our summer programs for kids and pickleball leagues for adults and different things, so a lot of stuff to check out with that for this summer. This Saturday is going to be our Easter stroll, so the 16th at 11 a.m. Families can come out and participate in the Easter stroll. We have 26 clubs, organizations, departments, businesses that are participating this year. So it'll be a great event for the kids. So that'll be 11 to noon on this Saturday, March 16th. And then also we still do have tickets available for the comedy show being brought to you by the Southgate Rotary to help kickstart the Riverview Rotary on that. So that is next Saturday on the 23rd of March, and so those tickets are $30 with an event starting at 6:30 at night on that night. So a lot of events going on.
Thank you, Todd.
Yep.
That's it, Your Honor, announcements.
Okay, then we'll get right into it. Discussion, 2.1, discuss the request by Henry Hoff to purchase 11811 Grant Street from the city of Riverview. Dave, you want to come over and bring your guest with you?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
You as well.
This is Henry Hoff. He is a new homeowner here in Riverview. Henry lives on the corner of Grant and McKinley, down the east side. We have a small vacant city-owned lot. It's 40 feet wide, 105 feet deep, so it's not very big. Henry would like, they don't have, his house is 11803 Grant. They don't have much of a rear yard. So he would like to purchase the vacant parcel from the city.
So this is behind, is it behind your house?
Right next to
Right
it,
next
yeah.
to
Okay,
it.
all right.
It gives him a second yard. Right now, the property really, someone needs several variances just to build on that property. Whatever house they could put on there, I don't think it'd be very marketable. It's a small site. We've come up to an agreement with Henry for purchasing a lot for $8,000. Plus, he will add another $1,000 in escrow fee to pay for Randy's firm to do all the title work and put the closing documents together. That's it in a nutshell.
I believe we sold a similar
Yeah,
property.
this isn't precedent setting, we've done this in the
Yes.
past. I think it's probably for $8,000 also for another lot on Garfield Street,
Garfield,
wasn't it?
yes.
Okay. So any questions, comments, concerns? That's an easy one.
There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's his first council meeting he's ever been
Yeah,
to,
first
too,
council
so.
meeting, he was a little nervous.
He was a little nervous.
And it'll be the easy
In that
one
case,
by
I got
far.
about 40 questions.
Ooh. So we're all set?
You all set?
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, special projects, Jeff.
Okay, let's start with Mr. Sohail.
Good evening, everyone. We're still waiting for a dual connection approval from DOA, so we're putting some pressure on to get that approved. The sewer lining, we're waiting for dry weather. Again, it's a wet period now, we cannot start bypassing sewer. So the sectioning, we're putting a list for street sectioning together, and we're doing lots of site plan reviews. That's all I have.
Thank you, Sohail.
Thank you.
Were there any questions? Thank you.
Jennifer Boyer.
Good evening. We have a draft set of drawings for the gas construction project for this spring for Kevin to start looking at. I just got back from vacation, so I haven't had a chance to run those by him yet, but we'll be talking about that over the next week or two, and then we'll be going out for bid, hopefully to start the project in mid-April to be done before the Memorial Day holiday.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah.
Mr. Dave Skirdo.
Most of my report's going to deal with cannabis. We got 3 of the buildings that were still under construction have now received temporary certificates of occupancy, which means they can open, they just have to finish up some concrete work and some landscaping work. We're still working with the Backpack Boys for that corner of Sibley and Fort. On their review, they're still going through planning commission stages. And then we've been working with the owners of the vacant site used to be Wild Coney, Denny's, and them to bring in a cannabis use there. So we've been providing guidance to them.
Dave,
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dave.
That site you're talking about, that is the one that Dunkin' Donuts is no longer
Yes,
renting.
correct.
I just want to make sure. Thank you.
And Bow's has opened up over by the landfill?
Yeah, they got temporary seal over
Is
right
it
now.
Bow's or Bow Hut?
Bow, I think Bow's.
Bose.
Okay, all right.
They go by Bose.
Yeah, I will say this, I stopped up at their invitation, and it's a very beautiful store. Owner was extremely nice. Everybody there was very nice. Building was very secure. It was nice to see.
Thank you. Anything else?
I think that's all we have from the engineering reports.
Any other business council wants to bring up at this time?
Your Honor, I just wanted
Go ahead.
to see if we could talk about adding the backup to our public of what we post, just so that everyone can see what we see. We do have quite a few residents that are interested in the background information that we get, and I'm sure legal would have to approve whatever we put out, but I just wanted to get the conversation started. See what everyone thought about it.
I guess we should start with what's the legal.
Yeah, would there any be legal ramifications? I mean, other than, obviously some of the background probably not confidential, but might be sensitive. Would it, if we just release it, would that require your office to do an evaluation of what we're releasing to the public?
What I would think we'd want to do is work with the city manager and develop a protocol so that we're involved with other communities where it's included in the public backup, I think. And I think that we could work out with Jeff a understanding of the areas where there might be sensitivity, and if it wasn't sensitive, then it would be part of it. If it was sensitive, then we would have conversation. He now has moved the agenda date to Thursdays, I think, and that way we could have a little bit of time. With council's grace, if there's something that we need to dive into come Thursday of the week prior, we would have that opportunity, and maybe it may delay you guys getting your agenda to the next day, but that certainly is the way I would envision doing it.
Makes sense. Any other feedback? Dave?
That would be all the additional pages, the 100 pages, 200 pages, whatever, that we get, the added information? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, making it available for the public.
The backup,
The backup, yeah.
the second one.
And I was looking into this and I found conflicting statements, one in the charter saying that we don't provide the backup, but then in the administrative regulations, under duties and responsibilities for the executive assistant, it says that the executive assistant shall assemble complete sets of agenda materials for, and then under item D, it says one complete copy for public viewing, excluding any confidential information. So I would think one complete copy would be exactly what we're talking about, the backup, my interpretation, of course.
You're in
And then-
council policy 1, probably?
No, this is, this is the agenda preparation and distribution under administrative, page 2 and 3.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if this is still active or enforced or whatever the term would be for this particular administrative
Well, let us
regulation.
review that.
So I think it supports it, but as I said, I was trying to search through the charter where it's read that we don't provide the backup. But I would support it, of course, with the vetting from both Jeff and yourself. But the question would be is Dave was just alluding to, these can get into the hundreds of pages, and obviously we don't want to print these out and have them laying around. So I would, at whatever point, recommend that we have maybe one copy available online, like where you go to the calendar to get the current agenda. And that would suffice as that one copy, I would presume.
I think so. But we'll come back with, I mean, I didn't think about any of this in advance, so
Right.
let me do a little due diligence, talk to Jeff, and then come back to the council.
Give it to me back next Monday.
And
Thank you.
Not a
David.
problem. Get my hand Monday.
If we were to do something like that too, I'm just asking questions, 'cause I'm not really too sure. If things had to be like redacted, that's man hours, somebody's gonna have to go through that,
Well,
right?
yes, there's gonna be cost
So that's
to it,
gonna
but
be
it might be
cost.
worth it. to
And
put that
I'm
out
just
somehow.
bringing up thoughts there, you know? So that there may
Well,
be a little cost to
yeah,
that,
and
not
that's
saying
a-
it's a
yeah.
good or a bad idea or a good idea, just
But that's something
Just
they'd
seeing
have to
everything,
they'd
since
have
it's
to
a
come
study
up with. You don't want to get into somebody actually going redacting documents, just this.
No,
this
I'd
big
I'd
whole
rather pull the
document.
document in its entirety
Yeah.
rather than mess around with,
Mhm.
you know, if it's sensitive in any part, just pull it out, and
I
the
think
rest
that'd
would be fair game.
That'd be easy, you know, Randy can give you guidelines on, if it's anywhere close to this, just pull it from the public and
Right.
get it back up, and it shouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah, my guess would be that if I have questions in it, with it, that I would, you know, get some kind of recommendation
Yeah.
from Lee.
Yeah, I trust
I
Jeff
mean,
to be
I'm
able
not
to do that.
gonna,
That's-
you know,
Randy, you'd mentioned other communities are doing this. Is that something new to that community, or they always been doing it, and how's it been working? Have you seen any problems?
Both is true. One community, I believe, has done it that way for a long time, going back to, I think, the emergency manager, but I'm not sure. Another community has a new regime in, and I think that they've gone very much overboard.
Okay.
Would that be Taylor?
No, no, it wouldn't be.
No, anything relating to enterprises such as the golf course, landfill, things like that, those would be considered sensitive materials or on an as,
I think we'd look at that on an as-needed basis, because a lot of stuff, you know, if we're looking at like a rate schedule or something like that, well,
Right.
of course.
that should be fair game, but if we're talking about, you know, to me, the guide is FOIA, you know, the exemptions for FOIA. That would be the starting point in my analysis, and we go from there.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Just to understand, when you had said that there were a little more aggressive, did that cause problems? And maybe one example of the extreme problem it might have caused?
Yeah. There was a draft legal opinion that the mayor put onto the agenda before it was finalized with him. So I thought that was a little problematic.
Okay, and that became public.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But they'll come up with some protocol, with Jeff and Randy. Thank you. Anything else the council wants to bring up?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, so I've been attending some of the elected officials training, and I wanted to bring some information back into the group, just because I was excited to hear about some of these possibilities. The first that I attended was the Elected Officials Academy for the Virtual Advanced Summit, which was February 23rd and 24th. And on the 23rd, we learned about municipal budgeting, which included a presentation from Mr. Chris Fabian from Resource X, and his presentation was on priority-based budgeting. And why I liked the information that was shared during that session is one of the obstacles that I've heard in our budgeting process, that it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of resources, and that we commit from our internal resources. And I think Jeff and the finance team do an excellent job, and you know, the result is a very useful line-based budget. But, and the point of this presentation was that priority-based budgeting that this company provides is an AI, or artificial intelligence modeling technology, that allows municipalities to develop and manage their budgets more efficiently and increase their impact on community priorities. So before I diverge into that, I just want to finish on what this software does. So AI modeling provides government decision makers with the data and insights they need to align budgeting with the principles of priority-based budgeting by, number one, communicating the budget programmatically rather than departmentally by line item. 2, providing visibility into what choices are being made to provide services to residents and why. And 3, identify ways to reallocate resources and/or create new revenue streams to find priority programs. And so how this basically works is you take the community priorities. So there should be a list, and I'll ask that question here in a minute if we have that list of what the community priorities are, what types of projects, what the community is focusing on that our budgets are going towards. And this software then takes that priority list along with the line item budget and then uses the AI modeling to go through the line items and to see where, efficiencies can be found, where things can be streamlined, what the impact of shifting money from one budget to another budget would have on the impact of that program or that department. And that's where I think it saves maybe some of the time and the effort from your department, Jeff. I know, again, you guys are doing a great job, and I'm not bringing this forward to say that it's, to change any of that, but to improve on it. And I think we know the benefits of AI, and so I just want to bring this forward. But on Wednesday, April 17th, from 10 to 11:30, they're having another webinar, and they're going to cover this exact topic. If you can't attend, I actually have the recording from that meeting, so you can get a little more in-depth understanding of what this software is and what it does and what it can provide for us. If bearing none other, I would like to at least have the opportunity to invite Mr. Fabian here to present to the council what their company does and what the benefits of their AI modeling technology is. So if you want to reach out to me, if you wanted a copy, I think they're actually going to provide links to that training as well.
Thank you.
If I make the second one.
Go ahead.
Was the Michigan Funding had a hub webinar on February 29th. And again, one of the other problems or obstacles I've seen is going after grants. It's time consuming. I've talked to Dave on many occasions about having the staff to go through those grants and figure out which ones are applicable to whatever we need the financing for. And we've proposed different ways that we could help out with that. But what I liked about this MI Funding Hub is that they're putting together a new portal. And we all know, Dave says the current portal is quite cumbersome to use. But what I like about this new portal, which is launching April 1st, is that, just to give you a little background, is what is the value of this portal. It's currently there is an unprecedented amount of funding opportunities for local governments. There's a critical need for communities to effectively track, plan, and apply for grants. For many communities, navigating with process and developing initiatives that meet their current and future needs exceeds their capacity, which is one of the statements I just made. So what's different about this portal is that they provide a technical assistance lead. So essentially, you'd work with your community development director, your city manager to put together what the community's needs are, what grants we might want to go after. And you submit that, an application through this portal, and they have an actual help desk or a technical assistant lead, an actual person, instead of just some database that you send it off into and hope that you get a response. And that person reviews your grant assistance requests. Secondly, they contact you, so they reach out to you and contact you to discuss your community's needs and potential funding opportunities. And number three is they have an actual help desk team that may help you navigate the funding application process, providing technical assistance, and connect you with other resources, which I don't believe the current portals are doing. And lastly, they have a help desk that assess you if further assistance is needed and that they'll follow up with you. So I think this portal is something that we should investigate. There's very few things that they need in order to start the process. So I would like to bring forward, I don't know if we need to do it in a meeting and make a motion, or if we can just start working with Mr. Skirdo to put together a list of our community project priorities. So this is going back to where I kind of diverged at the beginning, was do we have a list of community priorities and a list of projects that we're doing to accomplish the community's priorities? I know we have the list of projects that each department's working on, so that may be considered that type of list. But overall, as a council, do we have a list of what our priorities, what projects we're working to accomplish those priorities?
Your Honor, I
Go ahead.
think that's exactly what the 2030 plan is.
Or will be.
Or will be.
Mhm.
And I will tell you, you have to be very, very careful when you get into assessing the community's priorities. We've done that in many different ways in a different city, and it was all over the board. Some people wanted rec centers, some people wanted indoor pools, some people wanted wider roads, some people wanted more green belts, walking paths. So you gotta be very, very careful when you start asking community and their needs. That's why this plan, this vision plan that's made up of council, residents, employees, or whomever, that's where you get that. So if you ask me today, of course, we have a Paiser study that we need to replace roads. We're looking at a sidewalk program. We know our capital improvement plans, what our equipment needs are. You know, when you get into this, and it sounds really good, but you're gonna be also taxing the employees that we currently have, where we have half as many employees since 2007. So you have to remember that too. Those things are all great ideas, and I'm not against
This
any of
second
it.
one, I think, really takes that burden off of, let's just
Yeah.
use Dave Skirdo's office as an example. There's many types
Sure.
of grants, but for community development, which it's a very short list of things that you need to have prepared. And it sounds like they have the technical assistance to drive this, where you wouldn't be doing that on
Is
your
that
own.
the funding hub?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, which launches
So
April 1st.
so I'd like to say that when you're applying for grants, you better have it shovel-ready, meaning like, it's not an idea that you throw things out. You decide the project, you engineer the project if there's engineering, and you get it together, and you put it on a notebook, and you put it on the shelf. Now, when you have all these notebooks on the shelf, you'll load the grant program, because now you're already past. Because what comes first, the chicken or the egg? If you give them an idea that you want to do, oh, well, show me your renderings, show me your drawings, show me your engineering, show me how much of the funding that you can put in, if it's a matching grant. Because most grants are matching grants, so it's all doable, but it's also additional work on the staff that we currently have, the level of staffing that we currently have. And yes, the portal's good, but you gotta get it to the portal. I mean, in a bigger city, when there was more staff, there was a shelf in books and Parks and Rec, that we had playscapes, we had walking paths, with exercise equipment. You know, we had all the pickleball courts, we had all these things on the wall, and that's when you're ready to go to grants and load that in. It's not, what's the idea, put it in the grant. It's not, that's not how it usually works. That's my familiarity. Maybe it's different now, and this is 4 years ago, but that's how it used to work. So,
Yeah.
just to let you know, those are all possibilities, and that's great, and I get it. And, you know, if we're gonna assign that work, then we gotta assign money and resources to it.
Okay, I think
That's what would have to be done.
I know Rita's been, championing this, and I've said I've written grant before, and I think we'd be willing to put in some of our free time to help out your staff. If we
Perfect.
picked out maybe one project that we wanted to work on,
Yeah,
and
and-
give this a trial run and see what type of
Yeah,
effort.
and that's the thing. I don't know if you wanna, I mean, there's cheap ways to get, projects the communities would be interested in. If you wanted to throw like a Survey Monkey out there and figure out what's important to the community, or if you have projects that you think's important to the community. Look, you live here, you listen to all the residents, so.
You could use mine.
Yeah.
Well, I think at this level, this is just a trial. We could keep it within the council to pick
Okay.
one project.
I'm open.
Whether it be community development,
And
or
I'll help.
infrastructure, or whatever.
And we'll help facilitate that, for sure.
And back to the first training and the Resource X priority-based budgeting, what's your thoughts about that? And is it something
Well, I
we
can
can
tell
at
you
least
that-
ferret out and have?
Yeah, we could look at that for next year, because this year, we're really deep into the budgeting
absolutely.
process right now. I mean, we're meeting with departments right now and going through all the budgeting. I get that, I understand that. I went to a CPA seminar last year that had AI budgeting like that, so I'm familiar with that.
What's your thoughts about it?
Well, it's a great thing, but again, it takes some time. It's not, you just type stuff in and it creates that. And the other sense too, is it's really important for the department heads, because they are the people who are running their budgets and running their departments. So it's more so for the department heads to figure out, does this really work on how I operate? What happens if I change some of this AI, some of these factors? Can I still operate that way? Or does it meet our needs you know, with the
And
AI.
that's what the software does.
It's supposed to, yep, the modeling, it's supposed to. I haven't used
I
it,
know
so I
there's
can't,
some
I've seen
investment of
it.
time and money up front, but I think on the back end,
Yeah,
from my experiences in my professional business, AI has paid off tremendously for the corporation I work for, and it's found efficiencies and savings. So I think it's something at least worth hearing the gentleman out and understanding more about. And if you want to do it on your own, I can send you guys the link to the webinar that's on the 17th. Yeah.
You can
And
send it
again-
to me.
Okay.
Ms. Ann?
Excuse me, I just wanted to say, this is my first budgeting, and I'd like to show you what I can give to you. I am here, I've done this for 28 years, so I'd love to show, when we go through the budget, I'd love to show you. So before we start going into another direction, please let me do that for you. And then if you decide it's not what you're looking for, then we can move on to something else.
Yeah, I wasn't proposing it for this year because I know you guys are already far
Okay.
along in the process, but I think it's something we should look at.
Oh, absolutely. I just-
It's all the, it's just a seed, you know? If it doesn't grow, it doesn't grow. But thank you.
Thank
That's
you,
it.
Brian.
Thank you.
Anybody else? With that, it's now time for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the mayor and council, please approach the podium, or actually just stand up where you are if you want. State your name and address for the record. Keep your comments to 5 minutes, and no sharing of time and no rebuttals. Anybody want to address council at this time? Then I would just look for a motion. Well, we don't need a motion, then we're adjourned. Thank you.
Jeff Webb, before you leave.
call the meeting to order, the city council special meeting to order March 11th, 2024, 7:30 PM. Will the clerk please take roll?
Councilmember Ganaga.
Here.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Prey.
Here.
Councilmember Robbins.
Here.
Mayor Swift.
Here.
Councilmember Webb.
Here.
Councilmember Workman.
Here.
Now's the time for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the mayor and council, please approach the podium. I've been informed you do have to speak into the microphone, state your name and address for the record, try to keep your comments to 5 minutes, there's no sharing of time, and no rebuttals. Yes, sir.
Ken Kyleman, 20243 Coachwood. I'll be brief. I have three comments to make, and they're alliterative. I have a question, a comment, and a compliment. First, the compliment. You guys have done a great job of getting things posted onto the calendar to let us know when all these committee meetings and commissions are meeting. I appreciate it, but here's my comment. Though not required, it would have been nice to have this special meeting posted on the calendar. It wasn't out there. And the question is that since the purpose of this special meeting is to allow for an adjournment into a closed session to consider a written opinion of legal counsel, is it safe to assume that when the council reconvenes after the closed session, no action is going to be taken today?
There will be, we will not reconvene, we're just going to adjourn in the closed session, so there will not be a decision made after the meeting.
Thank you.
Anybody else? And then I will look for a motion to adjourn in the closed session for written opinion of legal counsel under section 81H of the Open Meetings Act.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilwoman Ganaga, supported by Councilwoman O'Neill. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Prey.
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Swift.
Yes.
Councilmember Webb.
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Okay.